Hey everybody, Dave Duford here. Hope you're doing fine. It is March 3rd, 2020, and you're back for another wonderful sales training final expense extravaganza. Thank you so much for joining. So in today's training, we're doing role playing and script development. If this is your first time on the call, let me explain to you kind of what to expect. So generally speaking, what I do on these type of calls is that I specifically go over different sections or stages of the final expense presentation that I teach. So what my goal is basically to help you develop each aspect of the sales presentation to the best amounts possible. My main goal here today is to cover the presentation and positioning part of the sales presentation. We talked briefly about this yesterday. Actually, we went into kind of good detail. And to help you flesh out all the details associated with a good script that positions you to your prospects so that they know that your option is better than the others. But saying it in a way that's not disrespectful or saying that the other guy's horrible and you're greatest, we allow them to come to our own conclusions. So our script development is going to focus on that. And like always, I'm going to call on people from the audience who are willing and able. I'll invite anybody who wants to do this to go ahead and place or chat something in the chat. Let me know. And then I will be happy to call on you. So with that said, a couple of reminders here. I am doing a live training for final expense hopefully soon here. I'm trying to get my page uploaded. Maybe I'll look at this later. I'm doing a live, there it is. I'm doing a live training event on Friday, April 24th for my agents only. The top amount of people I'm looking for is 10 to 15 people. And I think some of you on the call here are going to be on it or are going to be joining me there too. But if you want to join, here is the link. So this is the April 24th one-day FE final expense training event. So just fill that out. It's free to my agents. There's no cost to it. The goal is just to give you the crash course in how to sell final expense successfully. We cover every possible aspect, time management, schedule management, presenting, closing, appointment setting, door knocking, carrier training. So it's all designed to get you up and running to get out there and make things happen. So there's that. And then also I'll invite you to, as well, if you look in the chat, I'm going to put one more link down in here. This is for our in-person annuity training. So Scott, Stephen, and I are going to put in more effort towards putting together training for you guys out there that are interested in selling annuities. So this is just a survey to see kind of when you'd like to cover or when you'd like to possibly attend, what months will be best over the next couple of months, what topics you'd like to talk about. Just kind of a good overall survey to see, okay, how can we best put one of these on? So one day annuity training survey, please complete here. All right. So there you go. Just complete that at your pleasure. Okay. So let's call on some folks and let's talk about how to present and position yourself in the final expense presentation. Again, to bring everybody up to speed, what we're not going to talk about, the assumption here is you did a good job doing this already. We're not going to talk about rapport building, introduction. We've already done that. And we're not going to talk about pre-qualifying and fact finding because we've already done that. So we're at that point where we know that we have a qualified prospect. We know that they've got need, want, health, bank, and budget. They know who we are. They trust us and probably sort of kind of like us. Okay, that's the hope. So at this point, it is a downward hill. All you have to do is retain your authority and trust and sell the prospects on why you are a better option than your competition. So I'm going to start calling on some people here and let's hear what you have to say. So Bill, is this something you want to play a part in? You want to role play with me? Bill Weaver?
Hey, am I on mute? Am I live or on mute?
You're live. I was on mute. Sorry about that. So yeah.
Okay. Pardon me. I have sort of the flu. I read your description, and this is for people that have already memorized the script. I have not.
Okay.
I'll do whatever you say, but I don't think you'd buy track shoes for your 2-year-old before she can walk good.
Right.
So.
Right. No problem. I'll put you back on mute. I'll call on you some other day once you got it trained down. I'm going to call on, how about we do Giovanni? You want to play?
I'm literally running around trying to get ready for something. Can I go another time? I'm sorry.
You can go another time. That's fine. Think so. All right. Let's do Mr. John Dean.
Yeah.
Hey, are you ready, willing, and able?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So take me kind of where I left off and explain to me how you would, in scripting, position yourself as the best option. So feel free to take it away.
Are you talking about when we're getting ready to present numbers and?
Prior to that, so this would be the conversation where we talk about the difference between term and guaranteed issue and whole life insurance.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think I can.
Yeah.
I can move.
Give your best shot. Do what you kind of do that kind of describes that as best as you can. If you're not doing exactly what I'm doing, that's great. At least it kind of exposes a different perspective to everybody. And then I can kind of fill in the gaps and show you what I do. So feel free to, just kind of go ahead.
Oh, I don't use your script when it comes to this. I don't know if that's I don't even know you had a script after this. I just do my thing, you know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can roll through it.
Just whatever you do is kind of what I want to hear. So
okay.
Yeah.
So you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. So Dave, now that what we need to do is just basically find and make sure that you can be approved. Dave, do you know the types of insurance that is out there? Like, are you aware of what term, whole life, and universal life is?
No, I've never heard of that before. No.
Okay. The one thing that you see a lot of term policies out there, and term policies is usually it's more on the inexpensive side. But term is like you're renting, and whole life and universal life is like you own it. The big thing with term is it has an ending point. So typically, it's 10, 15, 20, or 30 years down the road. But at the end of that time, if you're still alive, your policy goes away, and everything that you put into that policy is gone. Now, the nice thing about whole life, it's with you for life. Actually, the nice thing about it is when you turn 121, the carrier actually writes you a check if you can make it that long. So it's with you for life. You can never outlive it. You don't have the fear of that one day that insurance is not going to be there. That's kind of what I say, Dave. I don't know exactly what you want me to roll through this.
Yeah, no, that's a good place to start. Let me send that link to, hold on one second. I got a chat question here. Okay, here you go. There you go. Okay, so so can I provide some, Giovanni asked how much is the check written for age 121? So if they make it that long, which is not going to happen, for the face amount is what the check would be for. Right. Okay, so may I provide some constructive criticism?
Please.
So I like your presentation, but it's a B. There's a lot of room to make it an A+. So here's how I mean. You provide a good textbook description of the difference between term life and whole life insurance. Okay. In other words, it's very, I don't say surface level, but it's good in the sense that the client knows, okay, term goes away and whole stays. Okay. And you're not going to ever outlive it. But what you need to exacerbate, what you need to massage more is what that means to the prospect and what that's mean to other prospects that you've had, that you've gone through this experience with. So again, the presentation should not just be factual. it should also be emotional. Okay. And so I think there's room for, in your case, to add emotional elements to where the client can picture themselves if they do the right decision, if they do the wrong decision. Okay. And I think there may be room too to simplify some of the explanation so that our clients, assuming that, they, are simple people, not to be disrespectful, will better understand what we're saying. So a couple of suggestions here, John. What I would do is, first of all, kind of take the position of being someone being pissed or mad. So what I mean by that is, you want to be just as upset as you want your prospects to be with the crappy choices that are out there. So I say things when I talk to people. I say, yeah, this plan actually cancels when you turn 80 with AARP. Can you believe that? I mean, why would somebody buy a plan that they could outlive? It's crazy. So I'm talking a little bit more emotionally there, but I'm connecting, I believe, a little bit differently than just relaying facts. And it facilitates conversation, and it gets people engaged and involved with your perspective and how you think. So I want to talk about the policy kind of in that way. It's crazy, right? That this is a 2-year wait. You're not covered for 2 years. That's nuts. I want them to get mad about it. Additionally, what I think is really good that everybody needs to do is insert relevant stories for each part of the insurance products that you're selling. So when I talk term insurance, I mention a story about, when someone bought term insurance and the disastrous implications that followed. For example, I commonly talk about one lady was 62 when she took her plan out with Primerica. It was $50, $60 a month for 40,000. She had worked in a cleaner up till age 83 and then had open heart surgery. She had to quit working. But what she found was she wasn't making as much money, right? She's now really just retired. But her insurance bill had escalated from $60 a month to $300 a month. No joke. And, this little old lady, 83, wasn't making enough to cover that. And she had to drop her coverage. And so I paint this picture because every single person on a fixed income is going to either have experienced something similar or knows other people have experienced something similar, or they fear that they may want to avoid experiencing that type of situation. So it's like I always like to say, the Bible is the number one most influencing book for a reason, is because Jesus talked in parables. That's should be a good sign. If it worked for him, it'll work for us. So we want to talk in stories to elaborate and elucidate our concepts or points, right? So insert stories for term insurance. I'll give you a couple more. And by the way, anybody can use these. Please use these. Copy every word I'm saying. Just say, hey, my manager told me this one time, so-and-so. It's going to have the same effect. The second story is when you talk about guaranteed issue. I always talk about clients that, could not, that were in great shape, or like my first client ever in the business in 2011, his dad bought guaranteed issue from Colonial Penn, thought he had coverage, died because of a stroke, and then turned around and eventually found out that the $10,000 plan he had was only going to cover a couple $100. So, what's the, yeah, Giovanni, I see your comment down there. You have to explain what you mean there. So yeah, that's the, so when I explain that, I'm like, look, this guy didn't have to not be covered. It's because these companies hide this stuff from you. They put it in the fine print. They don't want you to know the truth, like I'm trying to help you with. So again, there's that emotional language, right, to connect with them further. And then when I talk about first day full coverage, what I like to insert is the following story. I had a client in Georgia. He was 85. He took out $25,000 coverage with me, in great shape. Just remarried, so he had some vigor left in him. And then 6 months later, he passed away from a heart attack around Thanksgiving. And because he took a plan out that was first day full coverage with me, he had his wife, his kids had total peace of mind knowing the funeral was covered, and knowing that her needs and their kids' needs would be taken care of. And so had he taken out something else like the Colonial Penn, it wouldn't have covered him. Had he taken out the term insurance prior to this, it would have canceled at 80. He wouldn't have had anything. So that drives home the point, hopefully y'all can see, of why we tell stories. It's extremely powerful. Now, some other things, John, I would recommend you to do is not only tell, but show, okay?
Yeah.
Did you say something, John?
I just said, yeah.
Okay. So when I say tell and show, we usually think show and tell, right? So think of kind of like being back in kindergarten and showing off your pet rock or something. So we don't want to just tell our prospects about how great something is. We have to, and this is always how I've operated in sales. I think it's a good rule of thumb. Always assume that your prospects think you're full of crap, all right? Always assume every statement or claim that you make, they're going to be like, so what? Or, oh yeah. You know, so it doesn't happen that way in reality, but it affords us the ability to make sure that we drive home our points that much more. As I like to say sometimes, we want a preponderance of proof, okay? We don't want to assume that there's enough evidence just based on what we're saying that a client's going to buy from us. We want them to actually see what we're saying in addition to, so they can reinforce for themselves that this dude knows what he's talking about. And yes, he cares about my best interest. So how do we do that? So the best way to do that is to actually have the forms that are mailed out to our prospects and then to provide those to them. So I'm going to share with you two in particular that I like to share, that I like to use. The first one is the AARP term product. And the second one is the Colonial Penn product, okay?
Yeah,
As I explain the difference between term life and whole life, I bring up AARP for term, Colonial Penn for whole life, because they've all heard of this, okay? They know who I'm talking about. Then I tell them term terminates, cancels at 80, goes up in price. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. So check this out. See where it says it? I'm not making this stuff up, Mrs. Jones. There's something powerful about doing that when they look at this and they're like, that realization comes over their face that, A, this guy's telling me the truth, and B, wow, these companies really screw you. So they really appreciate that kind of thoroughness. Then I repeat the same thing for Colonial Penn. Find the fine print. That's always on all these forms. And you don't have to do anything to sell them because what they've just saw is a realization about how much it stinks.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I used to, I worked for bankers, and so I actually have I just pulled that Colonial Penn thing up that
Same
you
one,
had.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, exact same one. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So drive those points home, show them, not just tell them. Insert emotionally charged stories. If you don't have your own by now, eventually you will. Just copy and use mine. It's completely fine. And, be mad, be angry. Don't be stoic about this presentation, right? Because I really think when I'm talking to these people, I'm like, these companies are screwing people, all right? Do not be another victim. They hide everything that they actually do. They claim this is the best thing ever, but look at the fine print here. Don't believe me. Look at what they say if you just dig far enough to find it. And a lot of people generally have skepticism anyway. And so what happens is now you don't call them, you don't like insult the client for buying the plans. We don't really insult the companies directly. But what we do is we kind of turn this into a good guy, bad guy routine. So the bad guy is everybody else. We don't say it as much, but we side on the side of the consumer. We side on the side of the client, right? When we show them things that they weren't aware of, when we show them the actual material about how the plans really work, that puts us in good graces, okay? And it separates us from every other salesperson that's ever going to walk in to try to pitch them. So for me, it's extremely powerful. Extremely powerful.
I got a quick question for you, and I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
So I've done that, and I've gone over. I really didn't explain term, but we were just talking about whole life and everything, and what they can be approved for. And I explained to them because they brought up Colonial Penn, and I told them about the 2-year waiting period and all that. And anyway, I was sitting in the house. seemed like they were it seemed like the guy was healthy. He was on 3 meds, went through everything, got a decline, and then I called Foresters for an approval, got another decline, and so I had to go graded, you know. And then so I had to backtrack my wording on it. So, you know, at that point, we're kind of left with a graded policy. What would you come
So
back?
my comment to you would be, do you think you did enough fact finding that you should have uncovered this, or was this totally out of left field?
I think it was totally out of left field. I mean, because this wasn't. I mean, this was like two months ago, and I've been doing this for a while, and I feel I do a good financial inventory, and I pick apart the the drugs and everything, and I think the guy might not have been telling me the truth when it came to some of the other stuff that he had taken. Maybe
just a touch of HIV. That's all.
Yeah, yeah. Right.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Look, I did the last sale I made about a month and a half ago. Again, I'm not full time for the rest of you out there. It's not like I haven't sold anything and still run appointments. But when I field trained the last guy I went with, the first appointment we ran, this guy, he had no larynx, right? He had the hole in his throat because he smoked his life away, and he put this thing on like that all the time. It's really hard to understand him. But he wanted insurance. He knew what he wanted. And I did the best I could to collect the most information I could. And I thought, unfortunately, the only option was going to be Transamerica. I didn't want to get him on the phone with Liberty Bankers Life for obvious reasons, because he had COPD. And but the thing is I knew because of the situation, it's kind of a different reason or different subject. But I finished the Trans app. They don't give instant decisions. So I knew before I left, I was going to take a guaranteed issue case. All right. Some AIG, Great Western, whatever. Ended up doing Great Western, I believe. And I sold it like, hey, look, if this doesn't go through, this is your second option. Let's just take care of this. We'll only do it if we need to. So lo and behold, after I, asked him to see his medications, after I talked to him about, everything about his health and so on and so forth, guess what he takes? Guess what he forgot to tell me? Dementia medication.
Oh, yeah.
He took Aricept. Now he seemed competent and cognizant the whole time. Nothing like about the conversation. I didn't think he was. I just thought that he just had a hard time communicating. He was a nice guy and he knew we were coming. So, but at that point, I did everything I could. Okay, and because they weren't fully disclosing whether they intended to or not, it's the best I could have done. So like in this case, if you do everything possible and you do a good job of pre-screening the client on health, you review the actual medications, you're very thorough, and the client comes back and they get declined, you just tell them, hey, look, there's something on your medical history that you can see with these 2 companies we've tried, nobody's going to take you. So what we need to do to get you coverage is do what's called guaranteed issue. And yeah, it's a 2-year wait, but you don't have any other options. There is something on your records that is saying that you can't qualify for first day coverage. So here's my proposition. Let's take out this 2-year waiting period product, guaranteed issue, no questions asked. You're in good shape. Like you said, you'll probably live 2 years, won't have anything to worry about. But in the meantime, if you'd like, I can help you get your medical records. I can help get the process going to see what exactly the issue is, if you'd like. And then maybe if it's a mistake, we can get it changed and then get you another plan here in the next couple of months. Does that make sense? So you may not even want to add in that last point about going to get records. The reason I do that is to show some goodwill. Like, I actually care. I understand why you're upset, but you need to do it anyway because there's problems and they may or may not be resolved. So that's the angle I use. And it's an ultimatum. I'm like, look, you can be upset, but this is what's on your records. I didn't put this here. Some doctor did. And the thing is it won't go away. So every time you go to try to apply with somebody else, I carry different carriers, just like I showed you. you're going to get the same kind of resistance. Do you want to sit through another 2-hour call with somebody else when you could just take care of it now? Does that answer your
Deal.
question?
Yeah. I mean,
Cool. Yeah. And by the way, guys, on that note, John brings up a good point. Anytime you write a carrier that doesn't give, so first of all, the standard is EAPs with instant decisions. Okay. For this reason, if you leave a home and you find out later it's not approved, well, guess what? Your likelihood of getting back in is 50%. I don't know if you guys are aware, but people nowadays in the final expense market, they spontaneously combust. They completely disappear. When you try to call them back and let them know, hey, there's a little change in your policy, they just miraculously, vanish off the face of the planet. It's like the rapture or something. I don't know.
I don't call.
What'd you say?
I said I don't call. I go.
Yeah. You should show up if you do that. Now, what would be better is if you don't show up ever again because it's a one-call close and you took care and pivoted away because you got an instant decision, right? That if it was declined like you did with this last case, you pivoted to something else. You want to do that you want to wrap up a sale all on the first call as much as possible. Any sort of details you leave behind, either A, you never get back in half the time, or B, you take that extra time you could go close someone else trying to save a deal. And people are less inclined, more frustrated in my experience on a second call when they've got to deal with something more expensive or less coverage or whatever than they would on the first call. So for me, make sure you're writing carriers that are instant decision with an EAP. Okay, it eliminates amendments, it eliminates go backs, and you get to know where things stand. If you get a decline, the great news is you can pivot to something else, and you can explain to them, hey, looks like something here is wrong. Let's try this company instead. After you try to do a little more fact finding, your best chance to make the sale is on the first call. And making the sale means you know where the policy stands as far as being approved. Okay, John, anything else questions-wise you want to ask? There's some good questions there.
No, I'm good.
Okay, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Okay, so I'm going to call on Jay or Nicola. Hey, morning, y'all. Are you there? I don't hear you. That's okay. Come on back and let me know when you're here. So let me run through a sample since I'm kind of running out of final expense agents to call on, so it's a smaller call today. Oh, you are ready. Okay, great, Giovanni. Gotcha. All right, you there?
Hey, good morning. Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, thanks for playing along. Yeah, just start as the agent, just like John did, and then let's run through this.
Hey, let me ask you a quick question. So in my fact finding, do you already have coverage? Do you not have coverage? What type of coverage, if you have coverage, did I find? I mean,
let's assume I don't have coverage.
Okay. All right. Then we'll go right from there. Okay. Now, David, now that I know where you stand on your budget, I'm well aware that you're getting all sorts of junk mail and that you've probably seen countless commercials on TV. Am I right or wrong? Have you seen countless commercials on TV about what we've been talking about?
Yeah, every time I put on Bonanza or Gunsmoke or The Price is Right, I'm being constantly reminded that my death is imminent.
Oh my God. You're making me remember Michael Landon, Little House on the Prairie days.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's how old I am, right?
Yeah, well, how old I am too. I know. Well, listen, the truth is that, all insurance is not the same. And, the worst part is that there's no class. There's no class that anybody will give us really. I mean, it's the same thing. It's like nobody really will teach others how to change a tire at this point. It's just something we have to go and investigate ourselves or learn how to do. So get this, some programs are better than others. And I think you should know all the facts before making a decision on the program that's going to be the best and the right for you. So let me ask you this, David. Do you know the difference between term and whole life insurance?
Yeah, I do. I know the difference.
Okay, that's awesome. Well, most people don't. But you know what? Just in case, I want to make sure we're on the same page, sometimes, I get it. I literally will speak in Greek and somebody will be like, what are you talking about? So let's just
Sure.
make sure we're on the same page. It's just a quick, like 5 minutes explaining the difference between, what the differences are and which program will be best suited for you. So I want you to take a look at this. This is a copy of AARP's term product. All right.
Okay.
And so do you know who AARP is, right? I'm sure you've gotten this probably in the mail or seen this on the TV, right?
Yeah. I end up throwing most of their stuff in the trash, to be honest.
Smart decision. All right. Among the many products they offer, they definitely offer what's called level term. And you see where I've got it highlighted right here?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. Now, here's the best way to remember term. And guess what? It all terminates, right?
What do you mean?
So meaning that it's going to cancel. And now when we flip over to the back, you see this highlighted print again?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, David, AARP and Globe are designed to cancel your coverage at age 80. Can you
Really?
believe that? At age 80?
Why would someone take something out like this? Don't you want
Well,
coverage
that's
forever?
what frustrates me too, is that a lot of times people are not fully explained this and they don't know. Classic example, I had a guy right here down the road in Lawrenceville, Georgia, Frank Church. He thought that at age 80, he had already paid in, no more payments. Yeah, no more payments meant that was the end of his coverage.
Right.
Can you imagine that? You've been paying in for 20 years. You think you're home free and good to go, and then you discover no, you don't have anything.
That's bad.
Wow. So the worst part is, I mean, you could be in perfect shape or almost deceased. It doesn't matter. So they will literally cancel your coverage completely at 80. And no, I mean, I had to literally tell Frank and his crying wife that they didn't get their money back.
Wow.
It's
That's
sad.
horrible.
But yeah, and so it gets worse. If you look down here down the page, you'll see that the prices are actually increasing over time. Yeah, and
Isn't
and
that
in
just
turn,
because I'm older? I mean, those prices will stay the same forever, right?
you know, if we were to go this route with ARP or Globe, no, they won't. And that's what makes this so incredibly bad is that you've already told me that you're on a fixed income. Can you imagine if you got up to $300 a month paying for something?
No, I'd only take home 1,000. I barely have 2 pennies to rub together at the end of the month as it stands.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine if a third of what you were making, this day and age had to go to this insurance plan? Wouldn't you be upset about that?
Yeah. Yeah. Heck yeah. Especially if it was cheaper to start.
Yeah, this is what's called a bait and switch program. And so it starts off cheap, but it raises the price, you know, and when you're retired and you're on a fixed budget, they in order to try to get rid of you, that's what they do.
Yeah.
And that way they're going to pocket all your money. Can you believe that?
No, that's crazy, man. It's a bunch of
Yeah.
crap.
Yeah, this is why I honestly take the time to educate folks because
Yeah. Thank you.
I don't I don't want anybody in my similar position as my aunt or any of my family members where this has kind of happened as well. Um, well, listen, David. Bottom line, are you planning on kicking the bucket before or after 80?
I have no clue. Hopefully after.
Exactly. I mean, you know, we don't know what the good Lord's gonna say our final days are. So I really got to say, what's the point of having a policy that cancels out before you need it, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So that's how term insurance works. Let's move ahead. All right. Have you heard about Colonial Penn or Mutual of Omaha or Physicians Mutual?
Yeah. Alex Trebek all the time on TV.
All right, good going. So I'm going to presume you're a Jeopardy fan. You've watched it, a handful of times.
Basically, right.
Yeah. All right. Well, they do what's called guaranteed acceptance. Okay. And what this means is that they're not going to ask you any health questions when you apply for coverage. All you do, sign your name at the bottom, you send it in. If you're breathing and you can sign your name, kind of somebody holds your hand on the paper, you're going to get approval for coverage. Yeah. I mean, in that explanation, does that sound a little funny or weird to you?
Yeah, what's the catch?
That's a great question, David. All right. Well, here's the truth. Let's look at the fine print at the bottom of this Colonial Penn form, okay? So you see here the highlighted fine print. It says at the bottom, I understand there is a reduced death benefit for 2 years if death occurs by non-accidental death. You see that?
Yep.
Okay. Now, what that really means is that you have no natural death coverage for the first 2 years. I mean, do you fully understand what that means, David? No natural death coverage for the first
So
2 years.
if I die from cancer, heart attack, Parkinson's, then I'm not going to get coverage. Is that how this works?
Yeah, it's pretty much, I hate to say it, but your family is going to hope that you die in a car accident.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Because that's the only way it's going to pay. Yeah. I see.
I mean, how do you feel about that?
Seems kind of like a gamble, really. I mean, I don't know when I'm going to die, you know?
I mean, have you ever gone down to Biloxi? Have you ever hit the slots? That's when we gamble, right?
Yeah, that's right.
We don't gamble on coverage and life insurance, right?
True.
Okay. Well, look, if you think about this program, it's the reverse of term. So now we have to pray that we'll live long enough to be fully covered.
Sure.
All
Yeah.
right. So bottom line is this kind of insurance is perfect for people that are bedridden. And obviously you're not bedridden, you're not horrible health, and you know what? You can qualify for something better. Don't you feel that way?
I'd hope so. Yeah.
All right then. Yeah. Because if you're in good shape, unlike these no questions asked programs, you actually want to have a company ask, you know, the kinds of questions I've been asking you from the onset. You know, that way we can actually get you the coverage you probably want. Like real coverage, not coverage with loopholes and speculations. And let's keep our fingers crossed that maybe this will happen this way or maybe it won't happen this way. Nah. So, all right, here's what's important, David. What I offer is called final expense whole life insurance. And I want to talk to you about the 3 main benefits. Okay.
Okay.
I mean, day one, 100% coverage. How does that sound to you?
Great.
All right. Does that sound important to have 100% coverage?
Yeah. Yeah. I
All
hope
right.
so.
Yeah. All right. You're completely covered when you start the program. So there's no 2-year waiting period. There's no crossing our fingers. Hopefully David will die in a car accident or some random thing that happened accidentally, you know? All right. Second, the coverage doesn't cancel due to age or health. All right. It's as simple as, hey, you know, I've asked you this before. You pay your bills on time, right?
Mhm.
All right. All you're going to do is just pay the premium and you're always going to be covered. It doesn't matter if you pass, you know, at 75 or 115, you're going to have coverage. How does that feel to you?
Feels good.
All
What I
right, well,
want.
let me pat you on the back because that's a smart way of going, in my opinion. All right, and third, the price is guaranteed. It doesn't increase, all right? You're always going to pay the same premium each month. That means that there's not going to be this gradual little, you know, increase in price, you know, 50 more bucks or 100 more dollars, all of a sudden 300 more dollars.
Good.
No, it's
Good.
going to stay the same. Yeah. Also, you're going to choose your beneficiary of your choice. And the benefit is going to get this, be tax-free to them.
Okay.
All right. So, you know, do you feel like for this, what you see is what you're going to get with
I
this
mean,
program?
what you're saying about this, yeah, sure.
Okay.
Makes sense to me.
All right. That's perfect. All right. Then let me ask you this, David. All right. And this is an important question. Out of these, you know, now that you've been educated, now that you understand, which of these 3 programs that we've talked about, we've looked at everything, you know, which one actually makes the most sense to you? You know, the term that cancels and has rate increases, you know, the Colonial Penn policies that make you wait 2 years, or mine, the one that's going to give you first day full coverage, that's not going to increase, that you're not going to get, you know, anything that says, hey, due to your age, we're going to cancel you. Which one, which one fits your needs the best today?
Yeah, I really do like the whole life insurance. Definitely something worth thinking about.
Right. Yeah. So, almost everybody, every single time says the same to me. Yeah. It's kind of a no-brainer. We all know that. Yeah. So are there other things that you liked about, what we talked about with with what I'm offering?
Yeah, no, I really like being covered from the first day. I like the fact that the prices stay the same. That's big too. And can't outlive it. They're not to like.
Okay. Great, David. All right. So give me just a few minutes and we're going to see which program is going to give you the most competitive rate and the best, what I want to say value of coverage. All right.
Okay. Very good. All right. Jivan, do you have any questions with what you just run through? Anything there that you wanted to refine or possibly cover?
Let me ask you this, David. Do you think I'm like, I know I add a fair amount of stuff in there, add more questions.
Yeah.
Is that bad or like, what do you think? Or
No, it's great. I thought that was an A performance for sure. You had
how can we
stories
make
in
it
most
A
sections.
plus?
Huh?
How can we make it A plus?
Okay, I'm gonna so like the difference between A and A plus is minor things that
Uh-huh.
are stylistic. So like that's kind of what I was gonna say. First of all, address your first question. What everybody here will do once you rehearse the script, I want you to read and rehearse it and learn it word for word. Not until you've actually applied this and done this a number of times and you just know it should you start to incorporate your own stylistic differences. That's what I call it, stylistic differences. So there are words you're going to read in the script that are not in your normal lexicon. Okay.
Mhm.
There are words and ways that you speak that sounds unnatural to you. My advice is to forego that initially,
Okay.
allow yourself to learn it as it's presented. But over time, we're talking 50, month to 2 months. You should be at a point where you'll start to just naturally incorporate some of like you're doing, which would be fine. Nothing you said here was off kilter or out of touch, or you hit all the main details. We talked materials, we told and showed them, we shared stories. You took the position of being on the side of the consumer and that so and so is the bad guy. I'm trying to be the purveyor of truth here. All that's very important. You trial closed. You asked which one they liked the best and why. You got the client to admit they want to buy your stuff. Like that's powerful psychology there. So just what can we do to improve it? Let me see here. Just a few things. It's not even that big of a deal. Like when you present the final expense whole life section, the third section, like what you do, I recommend ending. And again, this is nitpicky, but you're asking me to be nitpicky.
Yes. Yes, please.
I recommend ending with day one full coverage. Okay. So what I say something like this. So Mrs. Jones, let me tell you about the plan I can qualify for. This is called final expense whole life insurance. It's super simple to understand. Let me explain to you how it benefits you. First of all, you cannot be canceled because of age or health. When you take this plan out, you will always have it as long as you continue to pay the premium. So you never have to worry, like with term insurance, about outliving your coverage. Second of all, your rates never go up. So unlike, again, term insurance, which has these incremental price increases that become unaffordable for most seniors, you never have any change in the prices that I'm about to show you. They're as certain as the sunrise. The third benefit, and I think this is really possibly one of the most important, is that because you're in such good health, and off script only say this if this is the case. If they're not, don't. Because they're in such good health, you are eligible to qualify for day one 100% coverage from the first payment for not just accidental death, but natural death too. So it doesn't matter how you go. Get hit by a bus, die in a car wreck, stroke, heart attack, cancer. Assuming you get approved, and after you make your first payment, you are entirely protected for the full coverage. You have total peace of mind. So off script there, that's how I
Strong. You're re-emphasizing all the points.
Yes. And this is a technique that I talk about sometimes when I remember. I basically say that if you think about each of those 3 bullet points, first of all, it's just 3. We could talk about cash value. We could talk about tax-free benefit. We can talk about choosing beneficiaries. It's not that that's wrong. I just try to focus on what really matters to the prospects, which is quality. Does it go up? Does it cancel? And am I covered, really, truly covered? And so I answer that, and this is the technique I was going to share with you. Sometimes you have to say things differently, slightly, several times for it to really incorporate in the brain. So for example, you picked up on that. So the first thing is your coverage never cancels due to age or health. I could leave it at that point off script, but I go deeper. I go another layer deeper and say, so this doesn't matter how old you get, you still have the same coverage you took out today. I could go deeper and say, you never have to be in a position to where if you took out a term insurance plan that you might outlive the coverage with mine. So you have total peace of mind. So I basically have said, right, the same thing 3 or 4 times, but I've said it in different ways that may draw out a different reaction. We're hearkening back to the descriptions we did earlier on term insurance and why it's bad. And we're connecting why that's bad and why this is good and why this is a solution and why this isn't. And I think that instead of, and you didn't do this at all, but point being, instead of just giving a cursory explanation of what you do, you have to incorporate some level of excitement into what you're doing here too, explaining it. Because remember, the contrast in the presentation is, look at these guys. They suck. They make you cancel you. You don't have coverage for 2 years. They're complete garbage. Of course, that's the mannerism in which you explain it. You don't necessarily say it like that. But then you have to flip over emotionally and be like, so here's the, it's like you're leaning in and you're like really excited. Your eyes are getting big. Like, so here's the solution. So check this out. And you get really excited, just like on the cheese ball infomercials. But that's the contrast, because you want to be excited that if this is what you can actually get your client, it's worth being excited about. And look, you've explained in some of the stories you do, there are people that we deal with that get screwed by insurance companies and they just don't know what the options are. We are giving them something incredible, and it is worth being excited about it. So ratchet up. Note, everybody, please note your presentation cadence and your tonality and mannerisms. Don't be monotonous. Don't be monotone. Go from, the a purveyor of truth about the bad guys in the business to, the problem solver of how we're going to take care of what your issues are that we've uncovered.
Oh, David.
Emotional extremes. It makes for a more engaging presentation, and people will be more often likely to move to your side of the equation. You're saying something, Giovanni?
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you, David. Yeah, from one of the last times, you brought up cadence and timing. Was my timing a little bit slower? Because I think last time you said I was a little bit fast. So
yeah, I could tell a difference. Yeah, you were more paced. Were you reading the script?
I've practically memorized the script.
Good.
Word for word.
Perfect. Yeah.
That's what I've practically done.
That's great.
Because what I do is I set a timer every day and I go over it for 30 minutes, like just memorizing it, in the mirror.
Good.
I think the other thing that's been helping as well is I joined a local Toastmasters club.
Oh, you did?
And I don't know if everybody knows what that is. Just you literally have to go up and speak in front of people every week. And so that helps a lot.
It's like going to the gym and strengthening your muscles. You're strengthening your resolve to speak to people. So it's good. Yeah. It's free. I think it's free, or it's a low cost, but there's a ton of.
Exactly. It's free, but that dedication to go every week and you're speaking in front of people, they're also critiquing you, so it's like we do these weekly role-playing things. This helps a lot. And then you go there, and then if you spend 30 minutes every day, you just put a timer on.
Yeah. And it's called Toastmasters. So toast, like the toast you eat in the morning, masters, like masters of the universe, toastmasters.com. You should be able, Tapas, to find there's probably tons of where you're located up Northeast. There's probably tons of organizations you can join.
The other great thing is it's possibly a networking place too, because they're going to ask you, what do you do?
Yeah, don't you want to be surrounded by people who are interested in self-development and improving their skill set? Like, just from a quality of person standpoint, like, it is a good networking environment. And you sell insurance. A lot of these people are coming to Toastmasters because they run a business. They're mid-level managers trying to improve their skill set to get the higher levels. They feel like speaking and being comfortable and delivering a good presentation is pivotal to their success. So, these people have money typically, and they have concerns and they want to improve. It's a great way to get in front of people who, you're right, 100%, that would be good prospects, as well as network.
The aim that I got, David, is, and it's basically right off I think it's something I read on your training site, just like, I haven't looked into it yet, but to literally set up things with homeowners associations, because you can do mortgage protection that way, with senior or living places. You could go and give a presentation there, and that way you're already how do you say, you've already got some experience. If you've been going to a Toastmasters thing, speaking in front of 15, 20 people weekly, HOA meetings, no biggie. Any type of meeting anywhere. I think it's definitely in your training site where you're looking for places, because they're always looking for speakers. That's what it said in your site.
Yes. Yeah. And then that's what I teach in my seminar marketing mastery course, is that, the thing with most paid lead programs is that they're saturated at a certain level, and that's normal, but that doesn't mean you can't be successful. But you got to deal with competition. You got to deal with the same prospects that send off the same kind of cards or Facebook or telemarketing ads. And so there's a lesser, smaller pool of people to reach. There's a whole bunch of people that never would ever inquire about what we do, or any life insurance products for that matter, if they were forced to fill out a card. They look at it and they think, well, this is a scam. Or they get a phone call, they never pick up the phone, or they don't click on Facebook ads. But they show up and go to meetings, they show up and go do things. And if you're a speaker in the life insurance business, you're pretty much on a field of your own. There is nobody going out and doing what I'm describing. If I had to be thrown out to the wolves again, I lost everything and had to start from square one, I would be doing speaking engagements to business owners, talking about retirement strategies, concerns they need to have, looking at the market, how insurance can solve those problems. I would be out there doing 3 of those a week, and then doing as many appointments as I can to sell, IULs or, annuity, fixed index annuity strategies, that kind of thing. And I just know that, I don't know for sure, but pretty sure nobody else is doing that. And guess what? Speaking gives you authority. People assume the person speaking, like right now, y'all think I'm probably know what I'm talking about. I got all these books behind me. I've got this cool clock. I'm speaking up here. You assume, hopefully but you assume that I know what I'm talking about. And that's the power of being the center of attention, like in a speaking engagement. And so what happens is you can borrow that same power in the context of even a 15-minute talk on retirement planning or what have you. And so again, I'm super thrilled with speaking engagements. There's very few competitors in it. And if you can get good at it, it's nerve-wracking, but it's worth the investment for sure, because there's people you'll sell that never will get bothered by it.
As far as nerve-wracking, that's what the Toastmasters thing could help out with, is that you're just going to condition yourself to be used to it.
That's the thing about speaking, is that speaking is like, it's like working out. That's the best way to describe it. Like, there's pain. Like, the hardest part of doing anything is starting it. Okay. Yeah. Like in our business, the hardest thing is to get you guys to go out there and sell something, because there's a lot of apprehension some people have. What if I screw up? What if I waste money on leads? What if I screw up when I'm speaking in front of an audience? That kind of thing. Well, guess what? Accept that you're not going to be perfect, and understand that the only way to get better is by exposure. It's applied experience. And I remember, last point I'll make here, with the seminars, the first seminar I did was in town in Chattanooga in 2015 for final expense. And I remember I had always hated, and I still do kind of hate giving presentations, get real nervous. It's obsession, worrisome obsession. I remember the build up right before I got up and spoke, and there was probably about 25 people there. I was like, oh God, here we go again. And after like 60 seconds, it was gone, and then I did 3 to 6 of those every week. And at that point, I just didn't care. I had the same rehearsed presentation. I was comfortable up there. I didn't care about being perfect. And it was because I put in the effort on the front end and just accepting the fact that I was going to be nervous and just getting over it. So, yeah. Any other last points, Giovanni? Thanks for bringing that up.
That's really it. Thank you so much for taking the time today. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah. So for John and Giovanni, thank you for being willing participants. I'll get the rest of you next time. And I will put this recording up probably a little later today. I think there's some good training here to review. If anybody's got any questions, you need to reach out to me. Give me a call today. I'm doing a new consultation schedule, so I should have more availability than I've had over the past couple of months. So I freed up a lot of time. So I think that's going to be good to help you guys out. So if I can do anything, call, text me. Anything I can help, please let me know. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for your time and hope you learned something new.